Can a scream ever be as loud as silence? Sometimes a look, a word, or a silence can change your life. Imagine such a silence, echoing with loves lost, hopes shattered, and time slipping away. My name is David. This story narrates how silence can transform into a tumultuous storm. My wife Emily and I once had a happy marriage, but now we've turned into strangers sharing the same home. Have you ever thought about how everything can change overnight? Or how a loved one can drift away without you noticing? Before diving into my story, don't forget to subscribe and like this video to not miss the most gripping tales of betrayal and marriage. Now, I invite you on this emotional journey. Let's get started with our video. Everything was normal a few weeks ago, until Emily went out for drinks with colleagues from work and didn't come home until midnight. That night, when I called home around 10:30 p.m., she still hadn't returned. I began to worry. It was midnight, and the ticking of my watch filled the silence as I waited for Emily to return. I was thinking about the strange events that had happened recently. Several times when I picked up the phone, the caller would hang up without saying anything. At first, I didn't think much of it. Perhaps they dialed the wrong number. But as it kept happening, I felt something wasn't right. That night, another such incident occurred. The phone rang, I answered, and all I heard were breathing sounds from the other end. "Hello?" I said. No reply, just silence. Then a rustling sound followed by a click. The phone had hung up. These odd incidents and Emily's unexpected late returns started creating a distance between us. This distance, filled with behavior rather than words, turned into a game of silence. Even while eating together, we avoided each other as if evading a confrontation. Instead of asking her to pass the salt, I'd get up and take it myself. Rather than chatting, I ate my dinner in silence. Emily seemed puzzled and saddened by my changed behavior. This silent game alienated us even further. Emily knew my anger and pain, and over time could not remain indifferent. Apologies are rare in her family, but she began to act more affectionately. She would wake me up with a kiss in the morning, hug me when we got home from work and before going to bed, and sometimes while I was reading the newspaper and drinking coffee, she would lean over and hug me. However, even as my anger slowly subsided, I preferred to remain silent. I considered the necessity of each word and often chose not to speak. One evening after dinner, Emily suddenly stood up and took my hand. "Come on, David, leave these dishes. I need something else right now," she said, pulling me toward the bedroom. As we entered the room, everything looked normal, but I felt uneasy. As Emily drew closer, I maintained my distance. Though we were physically close, there was an emotional void between us. Her touches, which once made me very happy, now felt mechanical and alien. When we got into bed, the usual warmth was missing. This coldness ignited a feeling of estrangement within me. Where is this distance coming from? I thought. When did we become so distant from each other? A few days later, a man named Ernie Metallo came to my office during lunch and handed me an envelope. Inside were photos of Emily at Adam's house. The story of Emily being at Adam's place was quite complex. Ernie, a private detective I had hired, explained how he obtained this information with a serious expression. He had observed Emily's meetings with Adam several times. He saw Emily's car at Adam's house's parking lot on multiple occasions. The photos were taken during one of these moments using a telephoto lens. That evening when Emily came home, her face mixed with worry and fear. I was sitting quietly in the living room. I handed her the envelope. I showed her the photos. As Emily looked at the photos, her face turned crimson. Her eyes welled up. "When did this happen, Emily?" I asked as I waited for her to reply, my heart filled with fractures. "David, this was a mistake," she said, her voice trembling. "I lost myself for a moment, but I love you, that's the truth." Throughout our conversation, I could feel the deep scars between us. We had become strangers to each other. That night was a turning point, and afterwards our marriage was never the same again and we divorced.